Welcome to my home. Everything has mushrooms on it. This wasn't intentional, to be honest. I don't know how it happened so quick, but everything is covered in mushrooms. This episode of the Shroom Boom is a small glance inside the massive world in which fungi and mushrooms meet art, culture, and music. I care about mushroom art, mushroom culture, mushroom music, mushroom community so much. I think that the art is an entry point into the science of mycology. I think that constantly being reminded of fungi and how they impact our lives. I think we should be constantly bombarded with mushrooms all the time. 5 years ago, when I fell in love with mushrooms, you couldn't find mushroom decor like you can today. Today, when you search mushrooms in Fair or in any of these online marketplaces, the amount of cute mushroom decor there is insane. Mushrooms are everywhere. Brands like Lululemon, Adidas, and Hermes are all working with mushroom leather. Fungi's all over high fashion and jewelry. And while yes, mushrooms are cute, I think that people are loving them because of the conversations they get to have when another mushroom lover notices. Mushroom people are the best. They are the best kind of people. That is why mushroom art, my mushroom necklace, mushroom shirts are so important to me because first of all, they allow me to talk about mushrooms. They give the prompt to somebody else, so I don't just have to start randomly talking about mushrooms, which is what I want to be doing 99% of the time, which is why I almost never take off this necklace. And when I found out that the creator, Ashlee, was local to Vancouver, I just had to sit down with her.
My mom has made jewelry her entire life, starting with a small store on Vancouver Island, and now she mostly sells on Etsy. So when I started the process of creating the brand, I was microdosing to stay creative, motivated, and focused. I was doing a little bit of sketching and designs, and the first thing that I drew was a mushroom. So it kind of changed and evolved, but it was always a mushroom. I didn't know it was going to be so popular, but once I started with that idea and started digging into it, I realized that there was such a big community and that it seemed to be growing really fast at the time. Everyone that's interested in mushrooms is the sweetest, kindest people. So I think I got really lucky that that was the direction I decided to take, because the people that I'm connecting with now are just the best type of people.
I fell in love with fungi and I fell in love with mushrooms. And then I never left because the people are incredible. Like Anie. Anie I met at a mushroom festival in BC, no surprise. She has a background in sustainable agriculture and mycology, and is the founder of fungal.ca, a graphic design venture creating mushroom-themed art, stickers, and cards.
You know how everyone has that thing, well, maybe not everybody, but I know I have that thing that makes your brain kind of quiet. That's me. That's the fungi for me. It's so vast, but at the same time so exciting, and I feel like I've only just touched the surface. It feels like everywhere you go in the sciences, the more and more you decide to go, oh yeah, this is the thing I want to study, you kind of get these blinders on what else is out there. And I feel like art is a really cool way to explore everything within the sciences, within mushrooms, within whatever, and get to do something a little bit different. If you can stimulate all of the senses when it comes to art, maybe it's easier to take it in rather than just reading some scientific paper where you're kind of going what was the point of this? You know, why did we put so much money into this thing that only tells you yes, no? Yeah. So sometimes that type of science is extremely, extremely important, but maybe we can put the two together and you'll get more people.
The crossover between people who love electronic music and house music and EDM and people who love mushrooms, those are the same people.
I think the most common questions and comments that come up on the internet are like, is this real?
Modern Biology has amassed over 1 million followers on social platforms and is touring worldwide.
So what we're doing is listening to the biological life processes of a mushroom or a plant or even a human as music. The mushroom is not making the sounds. The mushroom is making the electricity, and then I'm and other people like me are plugging it into synthesizers. So it's really an art project that's based in some science. Along with tapping into bioelectricity, I also like to tap into any available information about what's happening in the moment. And one of those things is electromagnetic radiation, because we're constantly being bathed in it, all sorts of different radiation that we can't really feel. And this little device here, and there's so many different devices like it, are almost like radio receivers, that allow me to capture some of that information and turn it into audible frequencies so that we can listen to it. So it sort of taps into this ocean of electromagnetic radiation, which is also influencing our own bioelectric fields. So this is just real time capturing information and turning it into audio. And then I'm just like piping that audio into the speakers. I'm putting it through delays and reverbs and stuff and filtering it so that it's not too aggressive, because the sound is pretty intense. But I love working with devices that can convert sunlight and wind information and other just environmental information into sound, so that we're kind of listening to, I think of it as like a universal wind chime. We're listening to the environment and all of the things in the environment, including ourselves, as it's happening, as a way of getting, bringing us into a deeper connection to the present moment. That's the goal. I think we're at a place in the world right now where artists can become vehicles for, transmitting kind of scientific information, and where scientists are being forced out of the ivory tower and into YouTube channels and TikTok channels to try to convey their learnings to the population at large. And I think that's really healthy. Like, a lot of the time, especially in North American countries, science is being paid for by the government through tax money. And there's an accountability there. Like, you can't spend your whole life discovering stuff and just publishing it for your peers in language that's incomprehensible to anyone who's in the outgroup. I think there's a responsibility that we have to try to translate that, whether it's in, I'm not saying everyone should be on TikTok or social media, but like finding some way to communicate that outside of just the echo chamber of your lab. Or whatever faculty you're a part of. I think there's a lot of people that are just straight up like, even bioelectricity is false. You know, there's people who are like, this is garbage. Like, what are you talking about? But there's so much, you know, there's over 100 years of science showing that this is real. And there's more recent science showing just how important it is and how bioelectricity is not just about mushrooms or plants, it's also about humans and developmental biology and regenerative medicine. And the idea that, yeah, we have our genome, the assemblage of genes that makes up, you know, what proteins we're able to make, but it's actually our electrome that tells the genome like where to go in space. It's all of these kind of physical, like governed by physical laws, behaviors of electrical particles that tell us how to grow and help organs regrow, and tell, you know, when you have like a zygote that you're developing from, all of the original interactions are just electrical interactions. It's not genetic interactions. And so this is like some really profoundly interesting scientific things that we're getting at in a really fun way on stage with a bunch of mushrooms, but it's hinting at something like very profound that I think we're going to continue discovering and exploring for, you know, the next 10 years in science for sure.
I first met modern biology, Tarun. I was at a mushroom seminar, and we went out and foraged for mushrooms, and we brought them back, and he plugged in his synths. So at one point there was a man there, and he had a drier mushroom, and it wasn't making that much noise. Tarun explained to us how as you pick a mushroom and then as it degrades over time, it's going to lose that conductivity because it's losing life. I will never forget this moment where he had this realization that it was sad that there was no sound coming from the mushroom and the life was leaving. And it was such a profound moment in so many ways, because it made me realize and think about the fact that the point is to remember that things are alive, which surprisingly we all need that right now. It's a nice thing to know that life is in the room.
I don't think it's useful to get too into the like, what exactly does it mean? Because in the reality is, even people who are working with fungal bioelectricity full time, they don't know what it means. No one knows what's happening yet. We're still at the very beginning of this journey. And I think the best thing almost that we can do is just to have fun with it and explore and get as many people as possible curious about it. And that's how we learn more. And so I'm really, you know, even though I have a science background, I really approach it like a fun exploratory project that hopefully we will continue to learn from.